Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with a Journalist, brought to you by the team at One Pitch. Are you looking for a more efficient way to find and pitch the right journalists? Head to our website at onepitch.co to learn more. Our guest on today's Coffee with a Journalist episode is Andrew Couts, senior editor at Wired. Andrew dishes on the importance of timely, well-sourced expert quotes, the perils of poorly targeted pitches, and why direct, short emails are the secret to grabbing his attention.
Welcome, everyone. This is Coffee with a Journalist. I'm Beck Bamberger. We're on episode number, we're at 200 plus here. 200 plus, Andrew, is now the count. And coming from Hudson Valley, New York State, not city, just to be clear, is Andrew Couts. He's a senior editor of security and investigations at Wired. Very excited to chat with you today, Andrew. We just had a whole conversation about ear pods and things, which is not your coverage area. So we're not going to talk about that. But thank you for being here. And how is the Hudson Valley?
Thanks so much for having me. The Hudson Valley is lovely. It's leaf peeping season, and so can't complain.
And for everybody, I didn't do my little typical intro, but I'm going to mention this again. This is our podcast that helps publicists, all types of publicists, learn how to better work and build relationships with our journalists, reporters, editors, and friends in media, because we all need each other. And wouldn't it be great to have a better working relationship? Hence this show. Hence we're here. Okay, Andrew, always like to ask, for maybe those not as familiar, how would you describe Wired's coverage beat? And then we'll drill into more of your specialty.
Sure. So Wired overall covers everything from what you would expect, gadgets and computers and all that fun stuff, to politics, to cybersecurity, crime, to pop culture, music, video games, business, climate change, science. We cover the full gamut.
It's really expanded, I feel, more in the last 2+ years. Maybe that's just my impression.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the internet has made it so everything is kind of mixing together, and, with issues like climate change that affect everyone and everything, it's all combining into one big morass, I guess.
So security and investigations is your coverage area, which includes everything from national security to surveillance. Previously, you were in politics, so there was that element too. I bet that has something to tie into the arena now that you have. So expand a little bit more, if you will, on how would you define investigations? I bet a lot of publicists are actually more scared of that part, but you tell us.
Sure. So to backtrack just a little bit, so just to explain kind of what my job is, because it's a little weird. So I run the security desk, and like you mentioned, that covers national security, cybersecurity, privacy, surveillance, policing, crime, all the lighthearted topics. And so a lot of my day-to-day work is covering that beat and running the security team. Then the investigative work is more expansive. So I work with all the editors and reporters across Wired who want to do or are working on more investigative stories or want to do more investigative work. And so that can take many, many different shapes and forms. One of my team members is, his name's Dhruv Mehrotra. He's a data journalist, an investigative data journalist. And so a lot of what we do is diving into the many databases that are out there or that we obtain. We also do a lot of public records requests, as well as just human sourcing and kind of digging into companies and government actions and all types of fun things there.
So I would imagine, maybe I hope, that you're not getting pitches from publicists, or do you?
Oh, my entire inbox is completely chock full of pitches from publicists. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Well, that's what we always get into, the inbox and stuff. Okay. So what are they pitching you, Andrew? This is perplexing to me.
It's sometimes perplexing to me as well. Like a lot of times, sometimes it's carryovers from jobs I've had a long time ago. I've been a technology focused journalist for more than a decade. So I'll get pitches for all different types of things. My previous job was at Gizmodo, where I did a lot of stuff similar to what I'm doing here, but I would end up writing the occasional product review or things like that. So I have dogs. So I wrote a lot of like dog related tech content. So I'll get pitches for dog collars and things like that. But For the most part, it's related to, yeah, it's all pretty random. And sometimes I'd love to review, but it's not my job. That's a different team. And so sadly, I have to pass that along to somebody more appropriate. But most of it is related to security. And on our security desk, we're dealing with a lot of research and things like that. So sometimes it's researchers. Anytime there is a major breach or something of that nature, we're going to get a lot of people reaching out and saying, hey, here's our CEO has a comment on whatever is just happened. And so there are a lot of breaches related to a cloud company called Snowflake. It wasn't Snowflake that got breached, to be clear, but a lot of companies that use their services did. And so, we had a lot of people reaching out to us about that since that news kind of rolled out over a series of weeks. And so a lot of times it'll just be people saying, can you put our quote from our CEO or our CTO or whatever in your story, which we don't do. Just to be clear, I never use those email blasted quotes. We like to do our own reporting and get our own unique comments.
Oh, okay. So that's a good tip there. No copy and pasted, sent you the quote about the hack that just happened, whatever. No.
Yeah, it doesn't ever make it into our stories. Occasionally, there will be somebody who reaches out who I will pass along to my reporter who's working on a story and is looking for somebody who's an expert in maybe a more niche or unique situation.
Yeah.
But that's pretty rare. I'd say maybe that's happened twice in 2 years. So, it's pretty rare.
So let's go back to then quote sourcing or expert sourcing it all. And we always ask about like sources and what sources do you want? But in this case with quotes, is it, hey, you'd much rather get on a call, or are you ever responding to a pitch to go like, I see you sent me 3 sentences, but I'm not going to use that. But get me on a call. Like, does that ever happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Almost multiple times a day, the reporters on my team are on calls with sources. That's mostly what they're doing. Now, Wired security team is the best in the business. And I'm not just saying that. It's why I wanted to get this job and be their editor. Andy Greenberg, Lily Haight Newman, Matt Burgess are the ones that focus primarily on cybersecurity. Andy, Lily, Matt, they've all been doing this for a decade or more. Andy and Lily have been at Wired themselves for almost a decade. So they have a lot of their own sources, a lot of people they trust. And because security it's technically complicated a lot of the time, and you need to be very precise and speak to people who can talk about the specific issues or technologies that are involved in a particular news story. You really need to make sure you're talking to exactly the right person. And so we are constantly building sources, but we have a pretty high bar for the people who we're going to end up quoting or actually relying on to put into their own words a particular hack or describe a particular technology or whatever the case may be.
Oh, that's the juicy part of working with people who have been in the game at the outlet for 10 plus years. It's a rarity these days. I've worked with people now who've been working with me for 10 plus years. It gets so juicy when you just have like good depth of relationship. Oh, I love it. Okay, Andrew, what do you do for your sanity with your inbox?
I just do nuke all of them.
Okay.
I don't actually delete them most of the time. I will typically do the just mark all as read at a certain point once it gets to be untenable, and then pretend that I'm going to do better the next time, which I never do. So,
wait, what's the untenable point? 550? 5,000?
Oh, I'm looking at my inbox right now. I'm at a little over 5,500, which is
we're getting there.
Oh, yeah, we're getting there.
Okay. And just in your consciousness, you're just like, yeah, blast it out. Boom, gone.
Yeah, because
if people want to find me, they'll find me.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at staying on top of my inbox.
Okay.
I don't respond to emails that from someone who I'm not interested in talking with. If it's somebody who is offering, maybe we can get into this, but there are certain pitches that I will respond
to. Want to talk about. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm certainly happy to talk about that. If I'm not interested in something, I don't have time to respond to everybody. So I just don't respond.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to learn about the unique ways OnePitch helps brands engage with the right journalists? Head to onepitch.co and create your own custom media list in 5 minutes or less. Now back to today's episode.
Okay. So let's talk about those pitches that you do want to respond to. What is standing out to you in the subject line that gets your attention?
That is a good question. It really depends on the subject matter. And so I guess we'll maybe come at the answer from a different way. So on the security desk, especially, and I don't think any of this really applies to the investigations desk most of the time. It does occasionally, but I can get into that a bit more. But okay, for the security desk, we are looking for stories that are new, something that is unique in some way, something we've not seen before. And when we have a team that's as experienced as our security desk is, that's a pretty high bar. There's very few things that are really new. Relevant to our readers, does it have impact on the people who are going to be reading this in a good way or a bad way? Most of the time, because of the subject matter that my desk deals with, it's pretty heavy, it's pretty serious. It's not usually good.
Not light, fun things. No.
No, but we do like the fun stuff anytime we can find it, anytime there's something that's really cool or unique. This especially applies to research. And sometimes if there are people out there representing universities, a lot of times if somebody's done something really cool, built a cool new technology that's related to cybersecurity or surveillance or anything of that nature, we're all ears to hear that. We want to have the fun stuff in the mix as much as possible. So if it's really unique, if it does seem like it's impactful, we're going to be more responsive to those stories or to those pitches. I don't know if there's one word in the subject line that's going to really catch my attention, just because I get so many of them, I don't even know. And it's got to be related maybe to something that's already on my mind. So it's really luck of the draw.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is so much of pitching that we try to emphasize is like timing is a lot of the grace of getting that response. Oh my gosh, you just happen to be on Tuesday filing a story about that. You needed one last source. Like the next week I pitch you, no, that's, it doesn't matter. It's not there. Okay, yeah. Andrew, for editors, this is a little bit of an extra fold in because you have people that could write the pieces that you're kind of traffic controlling towards. So how much of you is forwarding what you believe is like a good source or anything? Or are you just hitting that nuke button all the time? I don't know.
I'd say I usually do it pretty regularly, a couple of times a week. It's not always for the security section. Most of the time, those get passed on to our business desk or our gear desk and are pitches that are just not applicable to my coverage area or my desk's coverage area. Generally, there are things that are maybe I just don't know whether somebody on a different desk would want to cover this, or I don't have the area subject matter expertise to know if this is interesting to someone. Other times there are things where I'll happen to open the email or happen to catch my attention because of a well-written subject line maybe, and will think, okay, this is actually interesting, and I'll forward it along to my team. And very often we'll follow up on those, but that's pretty rare, maybe a couple times a month.
Okay. So rare. Okay, good. Is there anything that helps your life be better, Andrew, via a publicist? Like, what can we do to help you?
Great question.
That's what we're here for.
I am more of an investigative editor than I am anything else. And so I will say that not always, but very often that puts me in a position of contention with the publicists who I'm working with. We're generally not reaching out with good news, whether it's a company has been breached or something bad has happened. And so I would say one thing I just want to emphasize is that we really do want to get the company's side of the story. We want to understand it. We want to get everything right. That is paramount for every story we're doing, no matter the severity or no matter the nature of the story. And getting that insider perspective is really essential 100% of the time. We don't know the reality on the ground better than somebody who is on the ground. Where it gets touchy is that very often people don't want to give journalists that information, or they want to control how it's being presented, and which I totally understand. But really, we're not ever doing a gotcha. We're never trying to twist things to make it a better story. We want to know what the reality is, and we'll decide to publish based on what the reality is, that based on our reporting. And so we're really there to let you guys know what we know. Can you give us more perspective? Can you give us some insights here? Tell us what we got wrong. That's what we want to know. And so the more we can have a relationship where we're interacting that way on the basis, like our job is to report the news and to tell the truth. The more you can get us close to the truth, the better. That said, I've worked in this business long enough and have had enough bad faith interactions with publicists that, my guard is up as well. And so we're not going to just take something as the truth because someone has said it. We're going to do additional reporting, and we're going to make sure that we're getting there for our readers. That's who we're there to serve. It's not there to serve anybody else. So
yeah, exactly. Andrew, I have a quick list of some rapid fire questions if I can run it down with you. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Phone or video interview?
Phone.
Bullet points or paragraphs in a pitch?
Bullet points.
Short or long pitches?
Short.
Okay. How short?
I will say this doesn't apply to publicists nearly as much, but I would say that my favorite pitches from reporters are just a link and holy shit. And that's the whole pitch. So I'm not a fan of long pitches. I want
2-word pitch.
Yeah, I want it to be obvious why I should care about this, to the point where you don't need to say very much for me to understand it.
Oh, that's good. So obvious you don't need to say much. Images attached or a Dropbox zip file?
Dropbox.
Oh, we like a Dropbox. Okay, an email or a DM, like on X or LinkedIn or wherever people hit you up?
Email. I'm getting pings from everywhere, and I will just, to go back to the attachment thing, I am a security editor, and I assume that I'm being hacked all the time. So the fewer elements that I have to inspect or get my hackers.
That's a good point. We haven't had someone who's on is like, security's my thing a little bit, so don't be sending me that.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Okay, one follow-up or multiple?
One follow-up. If you haven't heard from me the first time, I'm not going to get back to you at all.
Yeah. Direct or creative subject lines?
Direct.
Press release or media kit? Probably neither for you.
I guess press release to start, though I do want as many assets as I can have. So I guess press release first and then a media kit if we're actually going to do a story.
Okay. What time do you read pitches, or is it all the time?
All the time. I'm constantly watching my inbox day and night. So anytime.
Day and night, all the time. Okay. And then are there any last words, Andrew? Is there anything we could promote, tout, highlight for you, support you in any way?
I would just say if a journalist reaches out to you instead of the other way around, at least from Wired, they want to get your attention and they are going to be there to work with you on a story and not just do some gotcha or anything like that.
Okay. So respond quickly, maybe, is your advice.
Well, if you can.
Not at all. And then it's not good for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the quicker the response, the better, I would say. Yeah. And if we say the deadline is a specific time, we really are trying to give realistic deadlines to make sure that we can do all the work we need to do. So reaching out the other way around, just represent cool companies doing cool stuff or cool people doing cool things.
Just that.
Your job will be easy. If it's not actually interesting, it's probably not going to go well.
That is seriously the case. Have phenomenal clients. Makes your life so easy. Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Andrew Couts, thank you so much for being on here with our little coffee with the journalist, water, whatever we got in the Hudson Valley, all the things. Everybody, Andrew is the senior editor, security investigations at Wired. I don't think you want to be getting an email from him, frankly, but do not send him a DM on some other thing when he's the head of security. My God, no. Andrew, thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a great time.
Thanks for listening to this week's Coffee with a Journalist episode with Andrew Couts, senior editor at Wired. For more exclusive insights about the journalists on this podcast, subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter at onepitch.co/podcast. We'll see you next week, but until then, start great stories.